Hello everyone, Don here again with the next update on the Corsair project. I didn't get to do a video last week. I got some work done, but didn't seem to really have enough. I had some more car stuff to do, and so I kind of got late on the projects and wasn't able to make a video right away. So I got some more work done this week. My last video, remember I had this wing in the garage, and I was working on patching up this corner here. You can kind of see where I'd painted it, this whole section here. And then I took the Scotch-Brite pad, red Scotch-Brite pad with orbital DA sander and just kind of buffed it all. And these were a little shiny because they were painted with a different batch of paint than this was. This one came out a little shinier than this did. So I hit that with it too and knocked it down. So it blends in pretty good. The lighting in here isn't great enough to show it. But then the other thing is the pitot tube lines are in this wing. Again, there's the pitot tube connection there, and then the hoses come out. One of my viewers suggested marking the tubes with heat shrink tubing. You know, like put one red, one black, so when you take the wings off like this and go put them back on, they're color coded. So I went ahead and thought that was a good idea. So as you can see here, that's exactly what I did. I just took, I think the red one is the actual pitot and the black is the static, and I cut them back to length. These were extra long, so I trimmed the back. And these are just quick disconnect coupling. You squeeze this little collar here, you know, and then you can pull them on off, and they're real good snug fit, so they're airtight. And these were DOT approved. These are legal for semis. That's where I bought them there because I couldn't find the other styles. So that's done on both things, both the airplane and that wing over there. See, I think that's pretty much what I done here. So took some time and worked on those tubes, got them sorted out, and then I took and measured up for my final pieces is the covers. Okay, so let's come back here in the garage. And then I finally went down and cut the panels out. As you can see, I got them pretty much finished, ready for paint. You can see there's little pilot holes drilled. These holes are meant for number 4 screws. And then you can see the edges are broke, what they call break the edge, a little kink. I cut all these panels out, these 2 panels, not all. Sanded them all down, deburred them, drilled all the holes next, and then deburred the holes. And then I needed to break all these edges. As you can see, the underside. So these, there's a left and a right. Let's see, yeah, this one's upside down. There's the left or the right. You can see here, because one section of the wing, I can't put any screws in through here, like a screw here and a screw here, because there's I need room to get my hands in there in this opening. So there's those screws, so I have one's for left, one's for right. And to make that little edge, I made a quick little tool. I think it's over here. Here we go. This is just a piece of leftover plastic I had from other projects, and I took 2 small bearings and some 8mm bolts. And all I did, as you can see, I just put them both there kind of in the center punched this one, you know, and then drilled and tapped it, bolted the thing on, put a thin piece of aluminum in there the same thickness, pushed this bearing in, center punched it, drilled it. So it's got a gap in there to fit, you know, 30 to 40 thousandths. Then you just take that thing, put it on the edge of the material, and then move it back and forth and just apply pressure to it, side pressure to it, and it gives you a nice little roll, and it gives you a good handhold here. So that's how these all worked. The edge is about a 1/4 inch in because these holes are all 1/4 inch in. The print showed, you know, maybe half of that, but I think this, I was thinking, you know, you really needed something in the middle of this thing or thinner bearings to get down to the thinner edge. And after I finished, I was like, well, geez, all I really need to do is take one of my Forstner drill bits, which is a wood bit, flat bottoming type wood bits, which would look like, they call them Forstner bits. These things. So I could have took something like that, and I could have drilled that down in and sunk that bearing in far enough, because I had plenty of material for the bolts, as you can see. That bolt's still got 1/4 inch before it comes through, but I could have countersunk these holes and sunk the bearings in and just left maybe 1/8 of an inch sticking up. But if in the future, if I need to do that, I can leave this essentially like that. Somebody in a beat up truck. Leave this way, and then countersink this side, and then put the bearings over here if I want a thin one, and put them over here if I want a thick one. So that's all I did there. Worked real easy. I mean, it only took a minute to do each one of those panels. And then to help with it, I just took 2 pieces of wood like this. These are the trim pieces for my garage, and I clamped them up in the vise over there. Squeezed them this way, clamped it, vise here, clamped it, and then that gave me this here edge to roll that tool on. So those are done. So all that's left to do to these is clean them, wipe them down, or I'll Scotch Brite them, and then I'll wipe them, throw some zinc chromate primer on there, that green etching primer, throw some probably intermediate blue. They should be like half white, half blue, but I don't have any underside white left, so I'll just paint them intermediate blue. It'll be epoxy. So them are literally done, just clean them and paint them. So then, after that, I always wanted to, this is the trailer I'm going to use to put the airplane on. So this is a modification I've been doing this weekend. I went out and bought 4 of these little pulleys, like dog runner pulleys. These things are good for, what were they, 400 and some pounds a piece. The airplane only weighs 800 pounds, but you're not lifting the plane up, you're just pulling it. So I got 2 there. And there, and the idea is this will be unwound, and it'll be, I still need to find, I might try and find some way, I'm not sure what they have to tie rope together like steel cable is. You can crimp it. I don't know if they have something like that for rope. I'd rather have something like that than to try and just tie this around and tie it. This stuff is good for like 113 pounds. Again, 2 pieces, you got over 200 pounds worth of force. And then I had to work on this, but I took, that's 50 feet of rope, and then this is the actual center of the rope right here, and I run 2 strands, one through a hole here, one through there, and then split it out. So when I put the drill on here, I can wind this. This is a very, very slow cranking. I mean, you take 1,000 cranks to get this thing up and down. So I just took the handle off, and I put my drill, cordless drill on here, and it winds up fine. But this had some binding in it, so I had to fix that, get rid of a little bit of binding, because this gear is not centered. It wobbles as it comes around and makes a tight spot on this worm drive. So it's you can put a lot of torque to that with little effort cranking, but it takes 10 times longer. But the idea is that gets tied to one leg of the gear, that gets tied to the other leg of the gear, and then when I crank it in, it will pull the airplane equally with one. If the plane wants to try to start pulling one way or the other one's automatically pulling at the same time. And then the last mod I'm going to do is I want to put either a piece of angle iron on here, sticking up, an inch or 2. So, because the airplane tire runs right on this edge, and if it gets off center a little bit, it can fall off here. So, before I would tie a tow strap to the gear and grab it in the middle with just the cable that was on here before. And the problem is it won't pull straight. The airplane tail wheel moves around a little bit, and the plane wants to do this as it's coming up. So this would help. So I spent, $30, $40 on all this material. And I welded bolts right to the table, right to the corner. Then I had to go back through, and a lot of this here over the years, the last 20 years, has been popping these welds loose. So this thing was really starting to rattle. So I had to go back around and re-tack weld everything that came loose on this all the way around. And then the final thing was I was having some bearing problems before, so I decided to check the bearings. Got that side all done, put new bearings in it. Got them at Walmart, actually. They had some 1-inch bearing kits at Walmart for like $16 each. So I went and bought 2 kits, put that one all together. Couldn't get this one off. That damn had the bearing, apparently the old bearing, this was one from the other side. The bearing had must have spun on the shaft, and it galled it, and the outside bearing would not come off. This one here. That bearing would not come off. I put a puller on my hub, pulled on it, and all I ended up doing was busting the hub with the puller. I had to heat that thing up like crazy, beat the hell out of it from the backside to get this hub out of here. And that's what's left of it. I mean, that son of a bitch did not want to come out of there. So I need a new one. Now all the new ones, this one uses, these are pretty old, but this one uses bolts instead of studs. All the new ones that I've looked up all have studs now and need nuts. So I can buy one for like 22 bucks on eBay. It'll have the bearing cups in it here, but it doesn't come with the cones, but I do have a whole set of bearings and a new seal. But turns out this inside bearing was pretty rusted up. I had to end up actually cutting that off the shaft with the cutoff wheel to get that shaft out. But all this stuff needs to be done because this is the trailer it's going to take the airplane out to the airfield. So, alright, also in my last video, so I just got to order a new hub. I may just buy two so they're both studs and both use nuts, and instead of having bolts on one side and nuts on the other, I may just buy two of them. So, so the trailer, get that finished, and it's in business. And then a quick route would be to buy just a couple pieces of board and screw on there. I already have some holes in there from before that I can use. It's just a guide to help keep the wheel from running off, because a lot of times when I do this stuff, you know, load things up like this, I'm on my own. I never have anybody help me, so I got to make it one man able. So let me get a new hub coming for that, put it on, and also that wheel, which was in great shape, but I think the bearing had locked up on that once before. Right there's a flat spot. So that tire needs change. But that's got the old rim. That one there I bought new. I mean, the damn things are like 80 bucks a piece now for the tire and rim. So I'll have to get a replacement for this, because if you take this out on the highway, it's going to go dump, 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 dump. So then this thing will be squared away. So the last thing I mentioned, I got my physical from my primary care doctor at the VA. Got my paperwork filled out for that, so I'm good to go there. Now all I need to do is just get online to the AOPA website. They have the FAA course on there where you just watch the video, and at the end of the video you take the quiz, and then you put the information of your doctor on that online form. And then, like I said, I'm not sure if you can just download it after the quiz is over, or if they got to physically mail it to you. Either way, that's all I got left to do, and from what my friends say, it's a no-fail kind of case, unless you're really, really dumb and know nothing about flying. And then once that's finished, that's good for 4 years. But then after that, I still need to do my biannual flight review, where you got to go to a flight school or someone with a CFI rating to do an hour worth of ground, where you sit there and talk about aviation stuff, and he's just refresh your memory basically on different things. And then after they're done, and you hop in the plane, and you're supposed to go out for another hour just of flying and do stalls, turns, banks, and all that good stuff. So then that's got to be done, and you're looking at, I'd say it's going to be at least a $300 bill just to do that. So, because up here they're getting, you know, over $200 an hour just for the plane, and the instructors now are up to $50 an hour. So you got 2 hours for the instructor, 1 ground, 1 flying. So now you're, you know, well over 300 bucks, and those you got to do every 2 years. Let's see, what else? As far as getting this thing over to the airfield, I put the call out to my friend who has the hangar where I kept my CGS Hawk out there before, and talked to him, and he's like, well, you know, his son put a bunch of stuff in his hangar, and he put stuff out in the hangar. And then now the actual owners of the property, which is his uncle, which is the grandfather of the grandson that's out there now that just built his new hangar, he's really getting into a lot of different things. He belongs to like a Super Cub pack, and he gets a lot of Super Cubs like flying into his place, and they have cookouts and such. And now they've actually opened up our own little shooting gallery over there. I seen there were some planes over there today, so I stopped in to see, and there were 7 aircraft parked out there, all tail draggers, Super Cubs and the like, 170s, 180s. Anyway, they were out there shooting 22s. The guy, you know, they own a cement shop there, and they have a gravel pit. So he had put up all these banks of dirt, made some U-shaped banks build them real high, and then they put targets in there, and they're shooting, from what I've seen, just small bore 22s. But he had 3 different ones of those things build up where they're out there shooting now. So my friend wanted to check with them and see if there was going to be any problem if he let me come in. But he hasn't gotten back to me yet, because the guy's a little hard to get a hold of. He was so busy over there when I stopped that I couldn't even talk to him. So I just looked around, looked for a bit, and then I was actually on my way to get the bearings for the trailer. So I wasn't going to bug him. He was busy. They were having a lot of fun out there, but so my friend wasn't sure, what these guys' intent are at that airfield anymore. And then he has 3 airplanes in his hangar, so there was 10 aircraft out there today. So a lot of people showed up, kids, everything. So I'm just waiting to see for him to get a hold. And then, like I said, the guy he's going to talk to, the grandson, which I'm friends with him. We don't have any problems with each other. And like I said, my other plane was kept there too, so I don't think he'll have an issue. But he just wants to check with him, make sure he's not going to be stepping on any toes by bringing any more aircraft into the area. So as soon as I hear back from him, we'll work on getting this thing over there. For right now, though, I got to get my trailer back together, and then I'm going to get a hold of my brother, and we're going to get this thing out of here. Once the trailer's out of there, I'll pull it out, and I'll get the airplane back in the garage, go over the engine one last time, maybe a couple more tie wraps and such, make sure everything I've made is going to fit good. I won't be able to put that panel on unless I put the wings on. I don't really want to do that. It's not a nightmare. It's just, like I said, I do a lot of this stuff by myself. I hardly get help from anybody, so putting them wings on and off by yourself, you can't do it. You need help. When the wife's around, I can ask her to give me a hand, but the idea is I got to get some help getting this out of here, because again, the biggest problem I have is this damn stump here. The grate in that, gets moved out of the way, but putting it in, it was a royal pain. Plus with the gyrocopter in the corner back there, the tail's got to go in, lift it up around, so it's very tedious getting it in there. Getting out should be a little easier. I'll put the ramps up and roll, but I got to get help. But I'll get it out of there, get it in here to where, literally it's ready to go right now as soon as I get those painted, which I was hoping to get done today, but this trailer had burned up my whole day. But at least it'll be good. The lights already work. I got this rattle fixed now, so yeah, before this thing really rattled like hell. And you can see I spot weld those things about every 6 inches. It was like every 6th one, which I think are inch spacing, and then up the sides all the way around, because there was a lot of them popped loose and really rattled going down the streets. Get the hubs on there, new bearings in it, get me a new tire. That tire will be fine for this short trip. It's only 4 miles from the house. So that's kind of where I'm at. I didn't mention before, but that's all the trim that's pre-cut for the shed. That's all painted in primer. Now it's going to get painted a gray color so it can match basically this garage. As you notice, you got the gray corners. So I'm going to paint the shed white, get a kind of a semi-gloss or glossy white, and then kind of match this gray up. That's what that trim will be done. And then I can finish trimming that shed out. But get the airplane back in here, go over, give it the one last once over, and hopefully I can get the plane over at the field. I don't know how long that's going to be. But the FAA, as soon as I get it ready, he'll come right out and take a look at it, and we should be glory. So if it's going to be a little while, I may just take, like I said, I don't have any fuel in the plane right now, but I'll get some gas, put in it, and once I check it all over, maybe I'll just bring it out, take it across the street, and run it around out there, just do some ground handling. I won't put the wings on. I just want to test the brakes, see how they work. So you might get to see that before I get it over to the airfield. Now I got to mow the lawn again. So, all right, I just want to get a short video up so you guys wondering what's going on. Just get my medical finished. The biannual, I'll work on that. I'll get the airplane over there before I do the biannual. I'm not going to get a biannual until the plane's ready to fly. It's pointless. It's a waste of money. I don't have anything else to fly. I'm not going to rent nobody else's airplanes. So, all right. As always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns. Sorry I don't have more for you, but that's the way it is. The weather here is still swinging like crazy. The other day, it was like 40 degrees here. I was out walking the dog. It might have been about 50 degrees. had a little bit of rain on and off, but mostly the temperature swing's just been crazy. I mean, one day it'll be 70, next day it'll be 40, 50s, and they had a frost warning out for a couple nights ago. I couldn't believe it. They were calling for actually freezing, not just frost, so I don't think it did, but anyway, the weather's been bad. And we did get a little bit of rain, but it's pretty good dry now, so getting the plane out. And again, I had some work on the car to do. Last week I had to pull a valve cover, had to replace the gaskets on my valve cover gaskets. Were leaking oil down in the spark plugs. I pulled the plugs out. They were filled with oil, so I had to pull that apart, put a new oxygen sensor in it, got her done. Now I got 2 new tires get put on tomorrow. They just came in Friday, so I got to go to the shop tomorrow and get the front tires changed out, and then hopefully that's all I can do. I do have a squeak now. It comes and goes in the motor, and I think it's just a idler pulley or the tensioner pulley. I mean, the car's got 163,000 miles on it now, and it's still got the original belt, but it's squeaking like a dried bearing, you know, like these bearings right here were. I mean, they still had some grease in them, but they were still rusted up. Okay, I'm going to cut her off here, folks. Again, as always, appreciate you taking time to watch these videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns. I'll answer them as they come along, and appreciate the guys taking the time to leave comments. And as you can see, I answer a lot of them, and then after a week or so, I just kind of slow down on that. So, all right, we'll try and get some more news to you next week. Next weekend, I can probably guarantee you that this will be back in the garage, and I'm going to do a once over on the motor and then button everything down, put some gas in it, get her fired up again, and maybe I can get in a taxi video if the weather's not turns crap. Because again, this week it's still going to be 60, 70, 60, 70, and it's damn near, you know, summer's next month, and that's the way it always seems to work here. You'd be in the 60s and 70s, and then all of a sudden summer hits and it's 80s, 90s. I mean, you go from one extreme to the next. What can you do? That's life in Erie, PA. So, all right, folks, that's going to do it for this week. Keep in touch. I'll try and get you another video next weekend, and that'll definitely be out of there, and then I can start filling this up with junk. All right, folks, we'll see you again next week. This is Dino Don out.